Hello, everyone. My name is Andrei. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and I'm on the market this year. I'm really glad to be here and have a chance to present main results of my job market paper, Consumer Data and Consumer Welfare, Evidence from the Hotel Booking Market. We live in the big data era. Tech giants like Google, Amazon, Expedia collect enormous amount of data about our preferences and behavior. I study how does it change markets and does it have positive or negative effect on us as consumers. Also, these tech giants claim they collect all this data to provide better service to customers via better product targeting. Recently, a discussion has been raging about should we allow them to collect and use our personal data. While the central part of this discussion is about privacy and human rights, it also brings economic questions. How does it change competition between firms that advertise on platforms? How does it change market prices? How does the consumer welfare change? These are the questions that I address in my research. There are numerous theoretical studies in this area, but still a lack of empirical ones. My paper fills this gap, being the first empirical research on firms' response to better targeting and its effect on consumer welfare. Let me provide a small real-world example of the list of hotels I get on Booking.com in two situations. On the left panel are presented results that I got being logged in into my personal account. While on the right panel is given the list of the hotels that Booking.com provided me when I anonymized myself as much as I could. You can see that in the left panel, Booking.com shows cheaper hotels on the top of the list because it observes my previous bookings and knows that price is an important hotel characteristic for me. But on the right panel, Booking.com also tries to do a good job in ranking and shows relevant hotels on the top of the list, instead of completely random ranking. But because I anonymized myself, the best that platform can do is to use the average consumer data. So let me state my research agenda in a bit more details. In this paper, I address how the market prices, consumer welfare, and the quality of the purchased product change if the platform can provide consumers better product rankings based on personal consumer preferences. I compare market outcomes in two different cases. In the first case, platform provides a common ranking to all consumers based on the aggregated data of all consumers' preferences. And in the second one, the platform provides the personalized rankings of products to consumers based on their personal preferences. But why ranking should matter at all? The key component is that the consumer have to incur such cost to learn product quality. In many markets, consumers are initially uninformed about the quality of the available products. They may conduct a costly search to learn about product qualities. And in many cases, the search are facilitated by information intermediaries, which provide rankings of products. Due to the presence of the search frictions, consumers explore not all products before making purchase decisions. As a result, change in the platform's ranking mechanism lead to a change in consumer demand function, since consumers are more likely to explore products which are on the higher positions in the list. Moreover, this demand change affects firm pricing strategies. This last aspect is missing in all previous empirical research. So it's well studied in the literature and empirical literature as well that a better ranking helps consumers easy and fast to find better suited products, reducing search expenditures and procuring a better product match. However, if consumers change search behavior, in equilibrium, sellers also change their behavior. With a better ranking, consumers find well-suited products high in the list and have low incentives to search further, which shrinks their consideration set and changes the demand elasticity, which in turn relaxes competition between sellers and changes their pricing strategies. Thus, the effect of better ranking on consumers' welfare is ambiguous without additional analysis. This paper is the first empirical attempt to estimate the equilibrium model in such settings. Previous empirical works do not model firms' strategic pricing response on the change of the platform ranking mechanism and estimate only the welfare effect due to the change in consumer search and purchase behavior. While my approach allows also estimate how market prices change due to the different rankings and provide more accurate analysis of effects on consumer welfare. Let me tell briefly about the data provided by Expedia that I use in the study. The data set includes around 200,000 consumers and provides the ordered list of the hotels and their characteristics, including prices that each consumer sees after she or he search for a hotel on the Expedia site. Dataset includes information on what hotels consumer clicked and to get more information about the hotel and what, if any, purchased. In short, the dataset contains consumer search and purchase behavior and the characteristics of the hotels that consumers search over, including the positions of the hotel in the list shown to the consumers. So my main approach consists of several main steps. First, I construct and estimate consumer demand, consumers' demand using the model of optimal sequential consumer search based on the classical Wiseman model. Next, I estimate demand function to analyze. I use this estimated demand function to analyze hotels' competition and recover hotels' costs. After that, I run simulations of different ranking systems. Permutations. So the main idea is that permutations of hotels' positions lead to change in their demand functions, which change hotels' pricing game, and that lead to a change in price, and finally to the change in consumer welfare. To model the demand part, I use a classical Wiseman model. Consumer's optimal search strategy is characterized by the utility Uij, so that is the actual utility that consumer I derives purchasing the product J, and the reservation utility Rij. It's such utility that level that the consumer I is indifferent between obtaining this utility Rij immediately and visiting seller J, or just hotel J in my stage. In my model, utility Uij consists of two parts. The first part, this delta ij, is observed by consumer prior to search, while the second one, epsilon, is observed only after consumer clicked on the hotel, incurred some search cost, and explored hotel's page. So when consumer sees the list of the hotels, he knows he knows deltas to all hotels in the list prior to search, but need to incur search costs to learn epsilons. Also, I've shown the paper that the reservation utility might be represented as the sum of deltas and the function of the search cost associated with the hotel. So like that. So I model deltas in accordance to the literature as a convolution of hotels' characteristics. It's important to note that I use random utility model, allowing different consumers have different demand elasticities alpha I and beta I. Variable xi stands for unobserved quality, and size quality is likely to be correlated with the price of hotel. This will lead to the usual price indigeneity problem, which I treat with the standard control function approach. So Ursu in her 2018 paper, using the same data set that I use in this study, shows that the position of the hotel in the list affects only the search cost. So hence, the position of the hotel affects only the reservation utility, Rij, but does not change the actual utility, Uij. So consumers, after they already searched the hotel and decided which one to purchase, they don't care what is the position of this hotel. In my model, I allow the search cost to be stochastic and follows distribution F with mean mu. With accordance to Ursu paper, the distribution mean, this mu is increasing with hotel position in the list, which defined as Nij. So Nij, that is the position of hotel J in the list, which is presented to the consumer I. And gamma is like a coefficient to be estimated. It's more costly to consumers to search hotels down the list. Hence, the search cost is associated with the position of the hotel rather than the hotel's identity. In such a settings, consumer problem is dynamic and lead to complicated demand system. As a result, each hotel's demand consists of several different purchase paths, whose number increases factorially factorially fast in the number of hotels in the list, making empirical demand modeling and analyzing of firms' behavior very computationally intensive. This is one of the main reasons why it was not done in the literature before. Fortunately, recent findings show that the sequential consumer search model can be translated into a familiar discrete choice model. So Choi, Dai, and Kim in their 2018 Econometrica paper show that consumers purchase the product with the highest, how they call it, effective utility, which is the minimum between the actual utility U that consumer derives from purchasing the product and the reservation utility Rij associated with the hotel J. This results intuitionally is as follows. If the reservation utility is too low, the product is never even explored by the consumer. if the actual utility is too low, the product will not be purchased by the consumer even if examined. Another great result of Mark Gonzalez 2018 working paper shows that by choosing the right distribution of the search cost and the right distribution of epsilons, the part of the the epsilons where epsilon that is a part of utility observed only after the search. So if you pick the right distributions, effective utility W have extreme value distribution. That provides a closed form standard logic demand function, which dramatically decreases the problem's computational difficulty and allows efficiently analyze firms' pricing strategy. Here we can see the results of demand estimation. So I estimate the mean utility parameters and standard deviations. Due to I use the random coefficient model, allow my consumers to be heterogeneous. It's interesting that consumers are very diverse in their outside option and value of location and hotel chains. So some prefer chains hotels, some prefer independent hotels. But what is more important, I got that the position of the hotel in the list has significant positive effect on search cost. It's easier for consumers to explore hotels on the top of the list rather than hotels at the bottom. To provide more informativeness to this coefficient, we can say that moving the hotel one position down the list decreases its effective utility W by roughly $2.5. Now, when we know the demand function, so when we estimated the consumer behavior, I will say, we can estimate hotels' costs. I use a standard firms optimization problem where P is the price the hotel charge, C is the hotel's opportunity cost, and D is the demand function. The price the hotel's charge is observed in the data. The demand function is estimated on the previous step, so I can calculate hotel's opportunity costs. After estimation of the cost and the demand, I can run counterfactuals where I compare market results in two situations of common and personalized rankings. Between these two cases, between like the common and personalized rankings, only the demand function changes, but the estimated cost stays the same. It's important to discuss how the price the hotel charge affects its demand. There are two effects. First, the price affects whether the hotel will be included in the consumer's consideration set. Due to the platform wants to put on the highest position hotels which provides high utility to consumers, the price increase moves the hotel down the list, increasing the cost of exploring the hotel and reducing the reservation utility. In addition to that, the reservation utility explicitly depends on price through the part of the utility observed prior to search. Moreover, the price also have an effect on purchase probability conditional on the consideration set, since it affects the utility level U that consumer derives booking the hotel's room. Summarizing, price change hotels' demand by affecting the probability of the hotel to appear in the consumer's consideration set, and also the probability to be booked, conditional on the consideration set. Now, when we estimate the demand and supply models, or just equilibrium models of demand and supply, we can turn to counterfactuals analysis. So the goal is to compare consumers' welfare under two different ranking mechanisms, the personal ranking and the common one. The approach is as follows. First, using estimation of demand and hotel costs, I solve firm's price and equilibrium game for each of the rankings and calculate market prices. Second, I draw 1,000 of consumers from the estimated distribution of consumer characteristics and simulate their search and purchase decisions. After that, I compare results for two ranking mechanisms. So let's see on some main results. So we discussed above.
You have a minute left. Just to give you a bit of a time check. Sorry, I have no way of like signaling you the way I normally would.
Okay, so I think it's fine. So we discussed above that there are several effects on consumer welfare. There is a direct effect on consumer utility due to the change in the quality of the purchased product, and the search effect due to the reduction in search expenditures. I find that consumers on average experience 3% direct utility reduction if the platforms apply personalized ranking. So they gained roughly 0.5% due to finding better fitted hotels, but lose roughly 3.5% due to increased transaction price. But what is important is that about 30% of the list price sensitive consumers who do not care about price so much experience actually utility gain. And on the right panel, we can see that the distribution of utility change over consumers where the dashed line shows the average change. Also, in accordance with the previous research, I find that consumers reduce research intensity and save an average roughly 1% of their utility. The figure shows the difference in positions in the list of hotels which were booked under the common and personal rank. So here's where I'm going to stop. So let me make a maybe brief summary. The paper is the first attempt to analyze the effect of platforms ranking on consumer welfare in the equilibrium settings, accounting for the supply side for the supply side incentives change. I find that the average transaction price increases, and that fact leads to decrease in the utility of average consumers. However, about a third of least price-sensitive consumers experience utility gain due to better product match and reduction of search expenditures. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will be glad to answer any of your questions.